The Shulchan Aruch writes in Siman Tzadi, Sif Tet, very cryptic word which is discussed in the poskim what these words mean. Yishtadel Adam litpalel b'beit hakneset im hatzibur. A person should try to pray in the shul with the tzibur. Ve'im hu anus she'en yachol alot b'beit hakneset yichaven litpalel b'shas hatzibur mitpalim. If a person's anus and he's in a scenario where he's out of his control and he's not able to go to the Beit Knesset, he should at least pray at the time that the tzibur is praying, which means let's say there's a minyan praying at 7 o'clock. So you should try to pray at the same time of the minyan. You should estimate when is the minyan going to get to Shmona Esrei. That's the time I should pray, even if I'm at home. Let's say it's stuck, whatever the situation is, or at work, whatever the situation is. If I'm anus, that's the ideal time to pray at the time that the tzibur is praying. So what do these words mean? If you look at these words, it sounds like, if you look at it as face value, that a person doesn't have to pray with the minyan. It's only yishtadel, try to pray with the minyan. But the Mishnah Berurah and the Yekut Yosef, they both understand a little differently. The Mishnah Berurah says over here that even though you have a minyan at home, even if you have 10 people in your own house, you should try to dafka go to the Bet Knesset. You should go to the shul, even though you have a minyan at home. So not to say that a person is not obligated to pray with the minyan, he can pray at home and yishtadel, just try to pray with the minyan. No, when you have a minyan at home, or you have a minyan in the shul, you should try to go to the minyan in the shul and not pray with the minyan at home. But of course you have to pray with the minyan. That's the way the Yekut Yosef understands. That's the way the Mishnah Berurah. That's the way it sounds like. Also, if you're medayek in the words, yishtadel adam litpalel b'beit hakneset hamitzibur. But you could, if a person has no choice, a second option is to pray with the minyan at home. Third option is to pray, if you're anus, pray at the same time that the tzibur is praying, right? But that's the kavanah. Of course, a person has to do his utmost to pray with the minyan, and that's very important. Now, the Mishnah Berurah discusses an interesting scenario, which I think is nice to point out, is that we know that Hashem, the reason why a person should try to pray with the minyan, the Mishnah Berurah explains, because Hashem is not going to be mo'es b'tfilat hatzibur. When you have a minyan of people praying, Hashem doesn't look away from that. He doesn't get chas v'shalom disgusted in the tefillah, because Hashem, the tefillah goes up with everybody else. So even if there's a person there that's not worthy for his tefillah to be answered, if he's praying by himself, it's going to be much harder. But if he's praying with the tzibur's koach allows the tefillah to get answered. And he says over here an interesting scenario: if you have two bati kinesiot and one of them has a lot of people, then it's better to pray in the bigger Bet Knesset. But if that bigger shul, there's a lot of people and a lot of noise, and you cannot hear the tefillah, you cannot hear the Kriyat Torah, it's better to pray with 10 people in your own house, even in your own house, than to pray in a shul with a lot of people and a lot of talking. So that's how important it is. That's how important it is not to talk. And obviously, if you have 2 minyanim, let's say one with 10 people, which is very the tefillah is done very properly, everybody's answering amen and everybody's involved and there's no talking, and you have another minyan with 100 people, but over there you have a bunch of people over there that are talking, chatting and this and that, it's much better if I'm making a kal v'chomer, if the Mishnah Berurah says it's better to pray at home with a minyan, so for sure if you have another shul that has less people, you don't have the ma'alav barov am hadat melech, but you have the ma'alav, the tefillah done in a more proper way, and that would be more appropriate than praying in a bigger shul with a lot of people, but with more talking and less kavanah for the tefillah. Okay, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll continue next time.